officially. And my name is Felicia Masenu. I am the programs director here at Bilal. And on behalf of Bilal, I would like to thank you for your patience and also thank you for joining us tonight. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Manitoba, and I'm working on issues relating to minority groups, gender equality, social programs, and things like that. And that's how I became involved in the work of Bilal, because I saw that they were working on very impactful programs and things relating to immigrant youth and families. And personally, I can relate as an immigrant to Canada as well as and as a youth. So I'm very honored and very happy to be working with Muhyiddin and also the wonderful members of Bilal on helping the Black community. Today's event is part of our SCREEN program, which is made to help Black youth and families with learning about their rights and responsibilities as Canadian citizens. And hopefully this event helps in that direction. And this event is funded by the Aurora Family Therapy Center through Public Safety Canada. And we also have partners such as Raham Youth Center and the Kurdish Initiative who are helping us with the SCREEN program. And again, one of the main objectives of the program is to educate the youth about how to effectively address and navigate through systematic racism and the various issues that Black people and Black youth face in the Canadian system. We are very happy to have you here to talk to the youth and to us and everybody about the wonderful work that you're doing. Today we're going to be hearing from people on volunteering, and we have amazing members from the government as well. We have Jennifer Chan, we have Madame Leah, we have Judy. And so we are really looking forward to a very fruitful discussion that would help our youth along the lines or the objective of our program. So the event is scheduled to take exactly 1 hour, and we will really appeal to speakers to try to stick to their time. I know it can be difficult, but we would like to appeal to speakers to stick to their time so we can conclude the event in an hour. So without further ado, I'm going to invite Muhyiddin Omar, who is the Executive Director of Bilal, to give us a brief opening remarks. Muhyiddin. Muhyiddin, you're muted. You're muted. You have to unmute your mic. We can't hear you.
Thank you. And thank you so much, Felicia, for providing such great context about the event and for your kind words. First, it's my great pleasure and honor to welcome our distinguished guests that we have tonight here. And thank you, everyone, for celebrating with us, for sharing your insights and experiences. You know, it's a moment of celebration, a moment of reflection, but also a moment of having real conversation, discussion about the systematic racism that many people are experiencing in this country. So let me acknowledge our distinguished guests. We have the Honorable Federal MP of our district, Leah Ghazan, who has been very supportive of BCFC and our community. Welcome, Leah, and thank you for your time and your support. And I would also like to welcome Judy Williams, who is a project officer for Municipal Relations Department at the province of Manitoba. Welcome, Judy, and thank you so much for being to speak to our youth about such important topic. And we have Jennifer Chan. Jennifer, who is a school trustee at the Municipal School Division. Jennifer is very passionate about helping immigrant and newcomer youth understand and appreciate their identity, their culture, and their history, because once you understand your culture and identity and your history, you can have self-awareness and also have a better communication with other people. So welcome, Jennifer. And last but not least, we have David Adam, who is an outstanding volunteer, advisor and a friend of VCFC, and the liaison officer at Immigration and Refugees at the Department of Winnipeg. Thank you, David, for your meaningful contributions and to Bell and to the community in general. So welcome, everyone. And I'm eagerly looking forward to listening to your remarks and speech and insightful discussion. And I'm sure that the youth will join, but this discussion is they inspire and educate and raise awareness about the history, about the system we're living, and most importantly, how can we as individuals, adults, youth, leaders, elected officials can become a proactive agents of change. So thank you, and back to you, Felicia. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mahedin. I want to introduce the next speaker right away, who is Leah Ghazan. And I should admit that I went snooping around the internet a little bit about you, because I was like, let me find out a little bit about Leah Ghazan. And I must admit that I am so fascinated by all the work that you're doing. And I would just go ahead and say that, so Leah Ghazan is currently the NDP critic for Children, Families, and Social Development, as well as the critic for Women and Gender Equality. She is also an educator, an advisor, and media contributor. I can go on and on. It's so good to have you here. Please, we are listening to you.
Thank you so much, and so good to see all my friends around the table. To give remarks today in honor of Black History Month. And I know this year the theme is February and Forever, celebrating Black history today and every day. You know, we have witnessed since the pandemic even, you know, Black and Indigenous peoples coming together in solidarity, fighting for justice. Black Lives Matter, a movement of resistance that happened, fighting against systemic racism in policing. We saw solidarity marches, including in Winnipeg, honoring Black lives. Black Lives Matter. And, you know, we would not be where we are at today if it was not for the resistance and the resilience of that has come from the Black community, and models of resistance against systemic racism, including the Black class action that's happening currently in Ottawa. And I encourage all of you to check out their website. The Black class action is a class action lawsuit that was filed, in fact, and is in the Federal Court of Canada on behalf of Black federal employees. And the lawsuit is seeking long-term solutions to permanently address systemic racism and discrimination in the public service of Canada. It takes a lot of courage to come forward. It takes a lot of courage to speak truth to powers that were designed to eradicate populations. This is the history that we have in Canada, and to continue to rise and to continue to educate and to continue to stand in solidarity with other individuals across Canada, other groups across Canada that also are dealing with systemic racism. I lift up Black History Month today and every day. We must support each other. We must support each other in moving forward, and we must support each other in ending systemic racism once and for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Leah. Indeed, we must support each other, because it's very difficult to live in a society riddled with systemic racism everywhere. It's sometimes hard to imagine it when you're not the one whose life is being impacted by it, but Thank you for that beautiful speech, and we'll definitely check out the Black Class Action. Is it? We will definitely check it out. Thank you
Black
for
Class
letting.
Action, and they actually have a video. It's super powerful. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. We'll do that. I will introduce the next speaker, Jennifer Chan. Jennifer Chan, you know I love you. I love the board. I forgot the technical name for it, but can you help me out here, please?
Winnipeg School Division Board.
Yeah, no, the motion that you submitted. I was really looking forward to it going through, and I was a little disappointed that it didn't happen, but I guess we'll talk about that another time. Jennifer Chan, please, the floor is yours. We're listening to you.
Thank you so much, Felicia. The motion was passed, actually. Yeah, and I will talk about it in a minute. Hello, my friends and everyone. It is my great pleasure to be part of your event and celebrate the Black History Month with you. I am the elected school trustee for Ward 6 of the Winnipeg School Division. Ward 6 is an incredibly diverse area of our city with many newcomer and refugee students. I'm also a first-generation immigrant myself, coming to Canada in 2009. On the school board, my focus has been increasing support for newcomer and refugee students and improving the education system to reflect the diversity of both the students and staff. Our immigrant and newcomer youth are so talented and willing to contribute. And I have had the pleasure to listen to a number of Black youth who organized the Black History Month within the Winnipeg School Division to celebrate their culture and share their experiences. And they were hoping the Black History Month was recognized by the school division leadership so more schools can join. And I want to thank Belong Committee and Family Center and other community organizations support. I put forward a motion on the school board and it was adopted to recognize Heritage and History Month. The purpose was not only to embrace the heritage and culture of our students, but also create a space for our students, recognize their leadership, and arouse more inclusion, representation, and diversity. And my other motion, which was to establish the first of its kind newcomer education committee within the Winnipeg School Division, was also passed the last year. And the committee is in meetings to discuss very important issues such as equity employment, change of student suspension policy. And Belong Committee and Family Center and other community organizations are part of this committee to provide advice based on lived experience. We know the challenges that immigrant and newcomer youth face are systemic and institutional. And our lived experience as immigrants is the most valuable treasure and the most powerful force to push forward policy change. In order to do so, we need diverse representation at the decision-making table. Our youth are not troublemakers, but they are often overrepresented in suspension discipline, absence, and dropping out of school. These students have unique challenges and barriers, but if people in charge don't understand those challenges, then students will always be punished instead of understood. In Winnipeg, we only have 3 visible minority school trustees, and I am the only woman among the 3. So we have a huge diversity gap at the decision-making table. And I want to urge you, all of you, to consider running for school trustee. With the upcoming municipal election in October this year, we have an opportunity to make change. And I really hope to see many candidates from newcomer community. And if you want to chat with me about election, I'll be happy to chat with you, and you can contact me at any time. And at last, I want to thank Belong Community Family Center for bringing us together tonight. And I really look forward to Judy and David speaking. And thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm so happy to hear that the motion was passed. I think I didn't keep myself updated on that. I'm sorry, but I'm so happy that the motion was passed, and we will be contacting you for the elections. We'll think about it, but we'll contact you. Who knows, maybe Mohideen wants to run for the next president, maybe, Mohideen. Thank you, Jennifer, for that wonderful update on everything, all of the wonderful work that you've been doing. Next, I would like to introduce Judy Williams, our next speaker. She is employed as a project officer with the Community Development Branch, the Department of Municipal Relations in the province of Manitoba. Her volunteer roles include director on the board at the St. Norbert Arts Center, co-chair of the SNAC mentorship program, and Gary Fest, and the coordinator of Fort Garry Young and Heart Fitness Group. She'll be talking about volunteership, skill building, networking, and community building as well. We are listening to you, Madam Julie.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to just start my PowerPoint. I'm going to share my screen. Is that? I'm going to need to share my screen. So,
Sultan, can you help us share the screen, please? Make her a co-host.
yeah. Okay.
Sultan, are you there?
Well, I'm really happy to be invited to speak today. Let's wait till. Well, I'll start by telling you a bit about myself then. I'm a social worker. I'm really happy to be part of this presentation today. Thank you very much, Mohideen, for inviting me to participate. I have a master's in social work. I work for the province of Manitoba, as you heard. The branch is called Community Development Branch. And my work history includes a lot of various positions, sales clerk, graphic artist, and lots of positions with the nonprofit sector as well. But throughout my life, I've volunteered with many organizations because I found this one way to build new skills and to give back to my community, to network, to make friends, and to have fun. So I see volunteerism as a win-win-win situation. You can learn a lot of new things. You can help organize, help other organizations and your community. And I see it as really as free training and skill building all in one with a good work reference later too. So I'm going to see if I can share my screen now, and then I'll start the presentation. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
I'm not sure what happened to the host. The guy who's hosting, the technical guy is not responding. I hope he's safe.
Oh, okay.
So maybe you continue, and Julie, sorry about that. We'll try to reach him out.
Okay, that's fine. So because it's Black History Month, I thought that I would spend some time talking to you a little bit about my family history. And so basically,
Or Hindi, can we switch with Judy while they are doing, you guys are doing technical work?
oh, okay.
Does that sound good?
Fine with me.
Yes, I think there's no problem at all. If Judy, if this is okay with you, Judy.
I don't mind. I can
Judy,
wait for a bit and see.
Judy, you can share. You can share. He allowed you to be the host, the co-host.
Oh, good. Okay.
For sure.
Good. Okay. So I'm just going to just do something. Perfect. I'm going to just start my.
Sorry about that.
No problem. So I'm just going to. Sorry. Okay. Could everyone see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Great. Okay. So I want to just start by telling you a little bit about my family history. I am the great granddaughter of Black beauty who was an enslaved woman. When I was a little girl, my grandmother Beatrice told me that if you would go back about four generations in most Black Canadian families, you will find enslavement. You'll find enslaved people. So I was able to trace my family roots back to slavery on both my parents' side. On our father's side, growing up in Trinidad, my dad knew his light-skinned grandmother was the child of her Irish-German slave master. Her mother had come from Montserrat and had children from her African husband as well. On my mother's side, my roots to enslavement go back to my great-great-great-grandmother, known to her family as Black Beauty. I was 10 years old when my grandmother showed me a love letter that had remained in her family. It was written by a quill pen on a very thin paper. The love letter was addressed to Black Beauty. My first thoughts were, this was very romantic, until as a grown woman, I understood the family history and how Black Beauty's enslaver freed her 3 young daughters 2 years before emancipation in the USA, but not her. He gave her daughters the last name of Freeman and diamonds for safe passage as they traveled into the northern states. The 3 girls, aged 12, 13, and 14, found jobs as servants in upscale homes in St. Paul's. And then Nellie Freeman entered Canada in 1905 with her family. The love letter that was in my family was written by my ancestor, still referred to today as Black Beauty. My mother's family, I mentioned, came to St. Paul's, Minnesota to Canada in 1905. They settled in Winnipeg. They were one of the first Black families to settle in Winnipeg, I've been told. They came for economic reasons. There were jobs on the railways, and Eaton's department store was opened, and there was a West Canada catalog sales center being built. The diamonds that the slave master had given to my great-great-grandmother, Nellie Martini, Lady Jane, and her 2 sisters in 1963, when he freed them as children, were used to purchase 2 large homes in Winnipeg. Their first home was on Henry Street, 298 Henry Street, very close to the CP rail station. Both homes were used as boarding lodges. Black railway workers and porters traveling across Canada were not always welcome in hotels or other boarding houses. Both of their businesses did very well, and through word of mouth, they had guests from around the world in their establishments. Black men from across Canada, United States, and the Caribbean, and as far away as Wales and the Dutch East Indies were hired as sleeping car porters for Canadian railway companies. The Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters formed a Winnipeg division in 1942. My grandfather was a sleeping car porter, and so was my father. Porters were responsible for greeting passengers, stowing bags, setting up berths in the evening, converting berths to seats in the morning, shining shoes, brushing off coats, and dealing with passengers who had too much to drink, babysitting children, doing anything else the passengers required. I'll talk a bit now about volunteerism. Volunteerism, the policy or practice of volunteering one's time or talents for charitable, educational, or other worthwhile activities, especially in one's community. Talk a little bit about my family again. So my grandmother Beatrice, who was a volunteer with the sewing group, made up of women new to Canada who had settled in the north end of Winnipeg. The sewing group would repurpose clothing, fabrics, curtains, and sew for families in need. My grandmother Beatrice also started a Girl Guide troop to provide a guiding movement to Black girls in the community in Winnipeg. There's my grandmother there in her uniform. There's my mother, my grandmother in the center picture, and some other guides. My father came to Winnipeg to go to university. He was born in Superior, Trinidad. He came to study architecture. He was told to save money, and then for a year when he'd be able to be okay here, he stayed at my grandmother's boarding house, and that's how he met our mother. My dad joined the Naval Reserves, and he taught Sea Cadets for years. He was awarded, they gave him an award later on. But the Navy remained a very significant part of my dad's life, his whole life. He traveled and met people from all over the world, very much like-minded friends. He was given an award for long service, and a crest was made for him. Dad was recognized for being the first Black officer to serve at the HMCS Chippewa. This is a crest that was made for him, designed for my dad. My mother, Frances Atwell, was considered to be the first Black pharmacist in Manitoba. She was also the first Black woman to graduate from the Rady Faculty of Health Sciences. When Frances graduated, her class of 29 only had 5 women in it. A bit about me. Since I was a little girl, I have enjoyed being helpful and productive. I came from a family of 9. As the second oldest of 7 children, I would organize my siblings to clean the house to surprise our parents. I would turn it into a game and tell them to pretend we were fairies and quietly clean the house. I used to feel a little bit bored at times, and I would always be looking for something to do. I didn't like to sit around. I learned how to hand sew clothes for my dolls around 8 years old. When I was in the kitchen making full family meals when I was 10, with all my siblings, and my father offered me 5 cents a dozen to keep a stock of homemade cookies in the house for my brothers and sisters. I was a good saver with my allowance and the money I made from baking cookies. We were the only Black family in our community for many years. I was definitely exposed to a lot of name calling through my elementary and middle school years. My father would take me aside when I came home from school crying and ask me what happened, and who was calling me names and how they were doing in school. By the time I was in grade 7, I truly saw the name callers as people with issues, not me. Our parents had us all in activities, swimming lessons, piano. I was on a speed swimming team, and I did a lot of social activities in school. My sewing skills improved to the point where my father now paid me to sew gowns for my sisters and mother. I was involved in Girl Guides, and I found those kind of programs provided me with opportunities to make decisions, supervise and lead others, and to plan and organize activities. At 15, I traveled with Girl Guides of Canada to the Eastern Township cycling for 10 days. And also things like Girl Guides, they look really good in your resume. People can relate to you. They kind of see your potential when you've been in some kind of movement like that. But when I finished high school, I knew I did not know what choices I had when it came to a career. Yes, I knew I didn't know what careers existed. I didn't know what was out there for me. I just knew the jobs that were on maybe TV shows or jobs that family members had or jobs that friends had. But I really knew I did not know what choices I had. And I also felt that our guidance counselor at school wasn't very helpful in that area. So I thought I wanted to be a social worker or a guidance counselor. My father was really hesitant for me to go into that field. He thought I would burn out. So I ended up going into pre-architecture. Oops, sorry, I'm going to go back. Back on slide. So I went to University of Manitoba, took the environmental studies program, got through about a year of it. I was one of only 5 women in the class of 100 people. I was the only Black student, and the program was very heavy. It was 45 credit hours first year. And I really found that I was distracted that year. I was starting to date and I was distracted. I didn't complete my year, my second year. So this is kind of what happened to me next. I kind of put it in a graph because a lot of activities happened. I had mentioned to you that I went to pre-architecture training. And after that, when I didn't finish, I decided to take graphic arts, which I finished, a certificate course. And I went to work for a printing company for a long time. And at the printing company, I was offered a position to be a staff, kind of a volunteer position to be a staff community connector. So I was trained on different resources in the city, and any staff that had an issue could come to see me, and I would try to give them resources. I love that. I really loved it. It's kind of social working for me too. So then I decided, I really like people. Maybe I'll take the human resource certificate. I was still working with the printing company. I took the courses that night, and then I started hiring staff at this company, which was lots of fun. I really enjoyed that too. And then I left that job because I just wanted to continue to be a human resource person. And I got a volunteer position with United Way. And that was trying to go into various workplaces and trying to get employees to donate money to the United Way to different programs and services. And that was great because I loved doing it. I love to get into actual workplace and see what goes on in a workplace. So I had that opportunity with that job, with that volunteer job. And after that, then I applied for a job. I got a job with the Province of Manitoba. It was a term position, but because I had actually been in different workplaces, I got a job as a youth programs officer, employment officer, where my job was to visit employers and make sure they were paying their summer students properly. So it's funny how things really tied together for me in that sense. And so I did both terms for about 8 years. It was a summer term job. And I was kind of, I'd be laid off and I would be like, oh, I want to be busy. So one year I decided I had some time. I thought maybe I'll go and take another course. So I decided to take a trade instead. So I took upholstery. I took the 1-year upholstery course at Red River College. So I figured, in between working for terms, I could have my own business on the side, make some furniture, etc. So I did that. And I still do upholstery today. And being part of the upholstery trade, I ended up finding out there was a women's group. There was a Manitoba Women in Trades and Technology group that was around, and we used to plan what we call GET camps, Girls Exploring Trades and Technology camps. There'd be camps for grades, I think 5 to 7 students, and they were held for women only, girls only, and they were held at Red River campus, where they learned in a week how to design and build a push cart and race it. So I thought it was a lot of fun. From there, I did I got a position with I did some peer counseling, sorry. I took some volunteer training with the Fort Garry Women's Resource Center as a peer counselor, and I volunteered there for 7 years. And that kind of helped me get into the whole, again, social working with women's centers, etc. Moved into jobs as a volunteer coordinator at North End Women's Center, kept doing some upholstery work, but really kind of got more into that employment phase. And I ended up getting a lot of work with nonprofits as an employment coach, with different nonprofit organizations, working with adolescent parents, working with women, etc. At the same time as that, we ended up starting to manage a summer restaurant, my family, because I loved cooking, as you know. Then I decided one day just to take the part-time social work course. Okay, so I went back and took the social work course and became a social worker, which is what you know now. So I'm going to move on and just show you some of the things, like through the years, taking night classes, etc., and then doing various things that I really enjoyed. I continued to volunteer places and continued to sew and take courses. So these are just some fun shots of some things I really liked, some things I was passionate about. So this is me, some things I've made: costumes, clothing. All my programs I seem to always want to add some kind of sewing thing to it, some life skills sewing and work experience for people. Some people who were very happy to learn how to sew and make some crafts for their kids. The restaurant we ran, that's a picture of us there. Women's Central Park, I was our board member at Women's Central Park. I did my practicum for social work there, and it was amazing to walk into a room and see a bunch of sewing machines. I was at home. And then I'm part of the planning committee for the conference, Strange and New Homeland Conference every year. And then this is what I do currently with the fitness program for Go Young at Heart Fitness. We run free programs in the community. And then I was going to talk about my brother a little bit, who was very active at the St. Norbert Arts Center, a mentor, writer of lots of stories about the Black Canadian experience, TV shows, etc., and how they named a street after him. And St. Norbert Arts Center. I'm now still on the board there. I'm a co-chair of Jerry Fest and the mentorship program that we run. This is just some paintings. We asked people to imagine a world without racism and paint what they saw. And here we go. Poster was made. This is the mentorship program we ran last year. We're looking for artists, emerging artists every year to be mentored to perform at Jerry Fest. That'll be happening again this year. So that's the mentorship program. Mentors from last year's class. This is the mentorship program. And then at the St. Norbert Arts Center, we have free live concerts on Sundays. And this is me. So basically, I wanted to share with you about, I reclaimed my grandmother's name. Black Beauty Products is one of my business names. And I make various things. I'm going to end this right now. Sorry. I just wanted to mention micro businesses as something that people can think about doing, where you just have a little bit of cash to start yourself with. It's a lawnmower business that you get borrow money for a lawnmower, then you start to mow lawns and you pay the money back, borrow money for a sewing machine, etc. It's just an idea for someone. Okay, thank you for listening. I have this picture in my hanging in my bathroom actually, and it's basically something that I try to remind myself of that, life is short and there's lots, our grandparents work really hard for us to do whatever we want now. So that's our mission. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Judy. That was a very interesting. That was a very interesting story. I like how you started with like your family and how you evolved as a person and how it all tied into volunteering, and it really teaches us a lot about the different opportunities that we can take to go into volunteering. And I like what you said about it. Also teaching you a skill, like training and teaching you a skill for free, that really helps. We really appreciate this. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Awesome.
We wanted to allow time for 1 or 2 questions, but we're a little bit behind time, so we will reserve the questions for after David Adams' presentation. And I'd like to introduce him. He's an immigrant and refugee support service at the U of W. He has worked relentlessly as an academic advisor of international immigrant and refugee students in their university journey and beyond, supported many in their U of W recruitment, transition, and retention by helping them to troubleshoot the academic, financial, and other challenges to succeed. David is one of the many volunteers working with Bilal. He was an MC of the Emancipation Day, which we had last year, a big Canada-wide event focused on African descent, organized by Bilal and funded by Heritage Canada. And David, the floor is yours. We'd like to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. You inserted some of the credentials there that maybe I may not have, but for this platform, I will take it. I want to say hello to each and every one of you, especially our speakers, Judy, Lynn, and Jennifer Chance. I always complain that you don't need to put me by when this kind of people talk. Let me talk first and then they talk after, because they can distort my idea easily. And Judy, I want to acknowledge the good presentation you did. There's a lot of education there, and I'm happy that you are using those kind of education for some other thing in the community, so keep it up. Jennifer, it's good to see you again. Lynn, I think Lynn Gizal is already left, right? And for our youth and the leadership of Balala community, always I feel great when I come and talk to you, or when there is an event for this center, because you are the core of the community now because of what you do, not your name. So I am very, very, very happy to be here. For our youth, the today event is more about you, because you are the one going to inherit it from where we are forward. And we don't want you to feel the same pressure we have been. And we also were, our feeling and our thinking was that not to inherit it any suffering of the past. But as a Black people, that is not true. We always feel the heat of anything surrounding us. And so today, it has been 96 years since February 1926, when former President Carter Woodson recognized February as a month of the Black history. So roughly 96 years to me is a long time. So we have not tracked down what happened within 96 years, but seeing what happened today can tell us 96 years back, it was a rough road to where we are now, because so many things had happened. So this means that Black people have fought against injustice in 96 generations. So I don't know how I came to this math, but I take 1 decade as 1 generation. So I put that rough mathematics. I may not have a formula, but I do believe that from 1929, 26 to February 1926 to February 2022 is 96 years of a struggle as a Black people. 96 years of a struggle has taken 96 generation of the people, of the Black people, to bring us to where we are now. And I urge our current generation to embrace the Black history and become our flag bearers, to carry on our collective legacy of promising, working toward finding a way of achieving equality, achieving justice, achieving human rights. So these things, they sound simple when we call them, when we say human rights, when we talk about equality, when we talk about social justice. They sound simple, but they are hardly achieved by the minority group, especially the visible minority group, like our racialized group as a Black people. The purpose of commemorating the Black History Month is to unite Black people together and to resist institutional racism, because I hear Jennifer was talking before about what the students are saying in school divisions of wanting the school to recognize the Black History Month so that they can celebrate together. It's not about the Black celebrating by themselves. It's about allowing the school to recognize and see and celebrate together with the Black history, a Black student for the Black History Month. So fighting against institutional racism is very difficult. And these institutional races were directed against us throughout the history of the struggle. Now, don't get me wrong, whoever listening to me, I'm talking of 96 years from when this today that we are commemorating was recognized, but there were a lot of bad things happen to the Black people before that. I'm not taking those things out of equations. While we are reflecting today and celebrating the Black History Month in February, some Black communities are mourning the loss of loved ones who have perished in the hand of the institutions. Example, on February 19 of this month, and today we are on the 25th, a police gunned down a South Sudanese young man in a broad daylight. Someone that would have been assisted because he's suffering with a mental illness. And the forces, the institutional forces were used to take his life. And it's not the first time. And this gentleman was suffering with a post-traumatic stress disorder because he'd been into war for many years as a child. And this is not the first time to celebrate the Black History Month in February, where the loved ones are being mourned. I remember 2019 in Winnipeg here, a gentleman was gunned down by the Winnipeg Police Service in this month. So while we are reflecting, let's not forget, you know, we are reflecting within the institutions that we think they are not giving us a space to breathe. Not only to breathe, we are losing our loved one. So let's use this month not only to say, yeah, this is where we come, but also let's deal with what we are seeing. As I said, these gentlemen, these two people that were killed in February, they were not killed by ordinary people. They were not killed by individuals, but they were killed through an institutional organized unit. Last, I want to remind the young one, especially the current generations, that the brighter future begins today. If you don't work if you don't do anything today, tomorrow is not going to be better. It's like you cannot go to work and wait until the day of payment of your rent and you didn't work, then you don't have money to pay the rent. It's like you're not going to school now and you expect you will get a good job in the future when you are not getting educated. It's not like, it's very opposite. So I want you to know that what we are talking about here, the reason why we come together and accept to come and talk in this kind of forum, and we will continue to talk, is that we don't want to leave you with a burden. We want to leave you with the joy of the community. We want to leave you with the strength. We want to leave you with the unity. We want to leave you with your identity. We want to leave you also to know how to fight back when you are surrounded with the forces of unnecessary forces around you. You must build on this. Whatever we have now, you can inherit it in a very peaceful way. And while working on this, it will bring you to a promising future. And you must continue to build on a lay foundation by the past generation. We are here today, all of us, me and the rest of the people you've seen in the screen here or in the community. We came here because of those people that have suffered in the past. And those people, they don't used to go to universities. We went to universities. Those people who used to work for food for work, we work for money and we get paid. So there are a lot of bad things that had happened to the past generation. And that is what they did to become our foundation. And that lay foundation, we want you to continue it. We want you to continue on that as a solidarity of humanity, and then continue to work to make sure that the society is a society based on humanity, not on a social economic status. I am confident that you will maintain this momentum to deal with existing systemic racism you encountered on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, and yearly. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, David. That was a very powerful, moving presentation about, how to embrace the Black history, and thank you for helping us to think about or reflect on what the Black History Month actually is and should be, and also helping the youth to understand that we need to keep the momentum alive and we are not alone. At this point, I would like to ask if there are any questions. We can take one or two questions. Actually, we can take two questions. So if anybody has a question to any of the presenters, this now would be a good time to ask. Anthony.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity. Thank you, David, for the wonderful moving presentation. And my question goes to Judy. So my question is first, I just want to say, I'm so glad you are part of such a historic families. And I feel like, I'm kind of connected and very close family, who's coming here and presenting and commemorating this Black History Month. And it's nice to have you here at this Black History Month presenting and sharing your family experience, the experience of Black histories in Canada, and at the Winnipeg and the Manitobans, I feel also the same thing. And my question is so with respect to the volunteerism, when you compare it, the volunteerism or community service back then, the time there were few Black people, when you were in school or when you are in a childhood or adulthood, and the community service that we have right now with the Black people or visible minority people, do you see a trend that is increasing or decreasing? And I just want you to reflect on that. And another thing is just as part of history recording, I just want to learn about the name of your mother, who is the first pharmacist in Manitoba. So yeah, if you share that full name for us, I would just keep it recorded and share with my friends. Thank you.
Okay. So my mother's name is Frances with an ES Atwell. And you know, she's been recognized here and there, you know, there's been a few things written about her, etc. There's a few books that were published about various Manitobans, Black Manitobans. And so she's been interviewed in it a couple times and so on. But yes, I can share those with you if you like. So I would say that in the early days, when I was in university, there was the International School Student Union was there, movement was there. So that was a place I would go to hang out with people. I'd hang out in that room with the students from all over the world. And we, you know, that was really, I met a lot of people in that sense. But I know, I would say in the 60s, I know with, again, students associations, like through my father, he was very active in the West Indian Students Association that was students who started it originally, but they became all our core groups that we saw in Winnipeg. So I would say they were around. There was like, you know, the Barbados had their group and so on. So that it would be kind of supporting the community in many ways. But as far as what I see now with the settlement services groups that have come out, there's definitely more now. If that's what you're asking me, there's definitely more like a lot of new ones all the time. Like Bilal is newish. I remember when you started. So yes, more and more all the time now to find who are probably. It's more made of people themselves serving themselves again. Designing it for your own, you know, the way you know it should be, the program should run, etc. Hope that answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Antonin. Thank you, Judy. Naima wants to ask a question. Naima, if you can hear me, you can unmute and ask your question now.
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so before I actually introduce myself and ask my question, I just want to thank you both, David and Judy. Those were not only remarkable speeches, but very powerful ones as well. So thank you to the both of you for sharing that with us. My name is Naima Shahassan, and I've worked as the Executive Assistant Director of the Summer Youth Program at BCFC last year and continue to work within the community. My question comes with respect to the volunteer aspect of things. I just noticed, you know, that a lot of times when we do ask the MPs if we can get Black youth and immigrants to volunteer in a federal MP level, they respond with promising to do their best. And I'm also aware of, you know, Sheikh Muhyiddin Omar, the executive director at Bilal Masjid, also, he's tried to facilitate volunteer opportunities amongst the MP offices and the youth as well. So in other words, I know that this has been a topic many times and we have yet to see any actions towards it. So if you can just quickly elaborate and maybe lead us on what your steps would be on how to give them that platform to volunteer in that level and atmosphere, that would be great. And this question anybody could answer.
Was the question to Judy?
It was in the beginning, but anybody can take the floor, yes.
Okay, because I mean, I'm not sure how it works with the government. I mean, as far as I know, the government of Manitoba has a volunteers in government program. But that is something that I use myself. I applied for it years ago and got a position up to 2 days a week. You can work then in a department you choose. So I went to their apprenticeship branch, for example, and hung out there for a couple of days a week just to kind of understand what was going on there. But as far as being a member of part, like as far as in the government office, I don't know the procedure for that exactly. So
I can add something about that. And thank you, Naima, for the question. I think you asking this kind of question give me an indication that you are well informed on the challenges that are facing the newcomers communities. Everything that we do as a people in any situation, and in particular in this situation, as a culture. And so what I'm trying to say is that we as the newcomers into this part of the world, the type of volunteerism that we used to have is very different with this kind of volunteerism. And this is more of a cultural aspect of it. So what I could suggest is that even if there is a volunteerism, and it's like, and I'm putting this in a context of practicum at a university level. So students that want to do a practicum for credit, sometimes they have challenges, especially when they are new, when they are immigrant and refugees student, because what we have as a people and what they have as a students are very different than the rest of this of the student group. And so if you have time as immigrant and refugees, students, NEMA, you may be thinking about finding an extra job, an extra or another part-time to put in, because we have a dual responsibility that doesn't end up with us being here and support ourselves. We have relatives everywhere in different parts of the world, especially if I can give an example of being an African, you may have a relative in Egypt, you have a relative in South Africa. And so this idea of voluntarism need to be revisited, and we have to come up, and this is my suggestion. If we want to do the voluntarism, let's set it up within our social economic status as a community, because as I said, everything we do as a people has a culture. And so our people, immigrant and refugees, I don't think they have time to go and volunteer in a very well-structured government kind of a volunteerism organization. They need to find an organization like a Balala Community Center to restructure the volunteerism kind of a group where it will put into consideration the social economic of the particular people that are being asked to volunteer. I don't know whether I'm making sense or not.
Thank you, David. I'll quickly add that Balala is always looking for volunteers. Currently, we are looking for volunteers to help run our tutoring program. So if you're here and you're interested in volunteering, please reach out to us on the website. There is a form that you can fill out to sign up to volunteer. And I think David has said it very well, that you can start with small organizations, volunteer with small organizations. Balala is more than happy to offer such opportunities. And then when you get some skills, you can use that to leverage or use that as an experience to then target federal or provincial volunteering opportunities. It does put you on a much bigger, a much better scale to be able to get better volunteering. Judy, did you have any final comments? I see.
I do. I think that you need to dream and then find out something you're passionate about and then approach them as a volunteer. And you could be a job shadow. You could just spend 2 days there. At least you find out more about the job, and maybe they'll love you, maybe you'll love it, maybe you'll decide to do it because it doesn't pay, but you're gonna get so much out of it, period. And then maybe you could do a work, like if you want a work placement, maybe you could do an informational interview where you just go and ask someone for 20 minutes of your time to understand what a job is like. And then you might decide that it might work out. You might be able to put an hour in, like a few hours in once a week at this place, but at least you'll be building your resume, you'll be building those skills, and you'll be doing something you love. So I tend to let people dream and then pick their volunteer role based on that. Not because I have a slot open somewhere. I let them decide based on their passion. If it's children, look around for jobs for children, volunteer roles. But I hear your point about having to make a living, but I think there's probably a way to do a bit of both.
Thank you very much, Judy and David and Naima, for that wonderful question. So ladies and gentlemen, we are right on time. This has been a very wonderful event, and I want to keep talking, but unfortunately we can't. Thank you very much for making time out of your very busy schedule to spend your evening with us on this very impactful and educative event. We would like to, on behalf of Balala, we would like to thank all of our speakers, Jennifer Chan, Judy Williams, David Atten, Leah Gazin. We thank you very much for making time to be here today. We also thank our executive director for making this happen, and all of the support that we've had from our wonderful staff. Thank you all. All of those who also joined us, we thank you very much for making it today. We we look forward to seeing you at our future events. You can check our website for all updates regarding our upcoming events, volunteering, if you want to volunteer, and all of the relevant, if you want more information about our programs, even, it's all on the website. So thank you very much. We lastly thank our funders, Aurora Family Therapy Center, and our partners, Raham Youth Center and Kurdish Initiative. People have a great evening and hope to see you soon.
Thank you so much.
night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Bye. See you next
Have a
time.
great night.
See you next